Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. The podcast you're about to listen to was recorded several years ago, so some of the phone numbers, email addresses, website links, and time-sensitive information are no longer valid. Please keep that in mind as you listen. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Hooked on Wooden Boats weekly podcast episode number 91. I'm your host, Dan Matson, aka Wooden Boat Dan. If you can't do it, well, you fill in the blank. And this is the world's first podcast, the very, very first, yes, it is the first in the world, fully, completely, 110% dedicated to the art, yes, the art, the craft, the history, the tradition, and the R word, romance, of wooden vessels all over the world, the universe, and extraterrestrial places, if they have wooden boats there. I've never really thought, do they have wooden boats on Mars? I think Mars is all steam, right? Maybe they have steamboats. Okay, I'm cracking myself up. Anyway, welcome to the podcast today. It's great to have you on board. This is a podcast where we talk about getting in the wooden boat game and having fun. Today's featured segment is 2 interviews that I did with some folks at the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building in Port Hadlock, Washington. I was there recently and interviewed Steve Stanton, who's a student at the school. He's from Colorado. He's a retired law enforcement officer, and he gives his perspective on what it's like to attend the school and some of the fun stuff he's learning. And then I also talked to Bruce Blatchley, who's an instructor there. He's in the contemporary boat building program. We had a fun time chatting. And I'm going to turn this off for a second and check out the other episode that I interviewed him in so you can listen to that also. Hang on just a second. Okay, I'm back. If you want to hear the other interview I did with Bruce, go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/022. That's episode 22, and I had a great time with Bruce there too. So stick around for these interviews coming up here in a few minutes. Okay, some highlights from the past week. As you probably know by now, I picked up my Scamp boat kit on May 28th. The Scamp is an 11-foot, 11-inch micro cruising sailboat, really cool boat. So far, I have assembled all the panels. All the puzzle joints are assembled with epoxy. I've got the jig up. And my next step will be to start epoxy coating some of the parts before I assemble the boat. So I'm really stoked. It's a really cool boat. The CNC computer cutting work on the parts is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it would have taken me several weeks to cut this thing out myself, so I've got a big advantage starting out here, starting with the pre-cut parts. And I finally have got my website fine-tuned for my Scamp build. So there's 3 pages on the website you can look at. One, I'm going to be giving weekly updates on my progress with some photos, and I've actually got a couple videos up there now of some of the things I'm doing. Then I'm going to have a separate page where I'm going to track the exact cost to build a boat for everything and the time it's taking me to build a boat. So I'm going to keep a detailed account of that. And then I've got a 3rd page for Scamp hacks and tips. So on this page, I'm going to be sharing some lessons learned along the way, sharing some tips that other folks have given me on the Scamp message board at Small Craft Advisor magazine. Thanks for doing that, Josh, setting that up. It's a great place to share information. So I'll have those 3 pages. I do have those 3 pages up, so you can go to, if you go to my homepage, hookedonwoodenboats.com, and you go to the top of the page there's a menu item that says Scamp Updates. If you hover over that, I like the word hover. It's like hovercraft. Anyway, if you hover over that, you get 3 choices: Scamp Updates, Scamp Cost and Time, and Scamp Hacks. So I'd really encourage you to check it out soon. And like I say, I'm going to be updating that on a regular basis. So I'm super stoked to be building this camp. I have a large shipment of epoxy and sandpaper and fiberglass cloth coming today. I'm sitting in my home office waiting for that to be dropped off so I can start epoxy coating some things. So check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, wooden boat hack of the week. This is hack number 21. And this is just something I learned about when you're making fillets in wooden boats. And if you don't know, a fillet is where you take you take epoxy and you mix up your epoxy, your 2-part marine epoxy, and then you add thickener to it, which is typically wood flour and maybe some other ingredients. So you thicken it up, and then you put it into a corner where you're basically attaching 2 pieces of wood together, and you build like a little vertical ramp in between the 2 pieces, and you smooth it out and you let it dry. When it's dry, you've basically made those 2 pieces into one. So it's called an epoxy fillet, and you can use disposable pastry bags to dispense the fillets on your boat. So this is a pretty cool tip. On the fillets I've done, I've typically taken a stick that's maybe 1.5 inches wide, rounded it off at the bottom, dipped it in my epoxy bucket, and applied the epoxy that way by scraping it into the corner where I'm building the fillet. And that's a fair amount of work. With a disposable pastry bag, what you can do is put your fillet material in the bag, cut the tip to the size that you want, or if it comes with tips, you can use one of the tips it came with and squeeze it into the corner, which is an awesome idea. It's a real quick way of getting the material on. Then you can come back and smooth it out with a spoon or something else. I am really excited to try this out. I think it's going to work great. So if you have any comments or questions about that, shoot me an email, dan@hookedonwoodenboats.com. Okay, we have a new subscriber this week, Leon Winter. Thanks for subscribing to the e-newsletter, Leon. The newsletter is published monthly. And if you're interested in signing up for that, go to hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. Give me your first and last name and your email address, and I'll shoot you an email about once a month with my newsletter where I share some resources, talk about what's happening at Hooked on Wooden Boats. Occasionally I'll share a video. It's just kind of fun stuff. It's a great way for me to connect with the audience, so check it out. Okay, we're going to move on to the 2 interviews. The first interview is with Steve Stanton, who's a student at the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building. It's about 17 minutes in length. And from there, we'll go directly into the interview with Bruce Blatchley, who's an instructor in the contemporary boat building program at the school. That's about 15 minutes. So let's roll the tape. Take it away, guys. It is April 19th, 2013. I am at the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building in Port Hadlock, Washington, with Steve Stanton. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Steve is a student here that started in October of 2012. And we just thought we'd have a little conversation here and find out more about you, Steve, and what's happening at the school. Okay. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Denver, Colorado.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And
spent your childhood there?
Spent most of my childhood right outside of Denver.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Did you do any boat building, woodworking, or boating as a kid?
I grew up, my father was a carpenter.
Oh, really?
And he did kitchens and interiors. And so I had exposure installing kitchens with my brothers and my dad. And so I've had that. I've also had, carving is kind of what I have done growing up ever since Scouts.
Okay. So you were a Boy Scout too?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How long were you in the Boy Scouts?
All the way from Cub Scouts into till I was
through high
15
school,
years old.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And did you ever know about the Sea Scouts?
I did know about the Sea Scouts.
But you weren't in Sea Scouts.
Was not in Sea Scouts.
Really?
I was very fascinated by the Sea Scouts because we lived in the middle of the United States.
Yeah.
There wasn't as much water.
Yeah. Probably not a lot of Sea Scout programs in Denver.
No. And so my brother, when he got out of high school, he joined the Navy. And in the Navy, he owned a sailboat in Alameda. And so he would send me cruising magazines, yachting magazines. And it was fascinating.
So that kind of grabbed your attention, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was the ocean, I mean, on trips that we had done just to the ocean with the family, that had a draw to it. And then I've canoed and kayaked while in Denver and in that area quite a bit, most of it river. And then we've hauled our kayaks out here to the Puget Sound to also do kayaking throughout the 2000s.
Oh, really? Okay, so you've been out there. So what kind of work did you do for a living?
Law enforcement.
Oh, really? Okay. Police officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that, where was that at?
He's in Aurora, Colorado.
Oh, really? Okay. Very cool. So you did that for quite a few years and then retired from that, or?
I did that 30 years.
Wow.
And after 30 years, I decided it was time for a change.
Yeah. So how did you hear about the boat school?
My sister-in-law, her and her husband lived in Port Townsend since 1991, and we have come up here to visit since then. And when the boat school was over on Otto Street, my brother-in-law had taken me over there to his job, which was directly across the street from the boat school. And while I was there, I looked across the street and go, "What do they do over there?" And he goes, "That's the wooden boat school." And so I went in there and talked with them a little bit, and just to find out what it would take. But while trying to raise a family in Denver, it was, how will I be from out of work for a year trying to go to school? So
that was in the 90s?
Oh, that was 91, 92.
Oh, okay. Wow, so you kind of scoped it out then. And
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but it would have been a little rough at that point to take a year off everything. And
financially, it would have.
Yeah. So did you continue to visit the Port Townsend area then?
Yes, since 91, we visited at least once or twice a year.
Did you go visit the school again?
Did visit the school again.
Did you?
I wanted to. Would have been 10 years. It would have been in 2002. After 20 years I had been on, we had talked about me retiring at 20 and just going to the school then. So came back out, went through the school, and but once again, it's just with raising a family, trying to manage kids in high school, a decision was made financially that it's best that we just stayed a little bit longer.
Yeah, okay. So why did you want to go to the school?
Growing up, my father had said that as long as you can work with your two hands, that there is no job that you wouldn't be able to do. And so I truly believed that that the trades, that the training, the skills that I would receive from the school would only benefit me in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you moved out here last year from Denver then, huh?
So in August we sold everything, sold our house, moved away from the family is grown now. They have families of their own, and it was time that we changed careers from the amount of work that we were putting in. I truly loved the career of law enforcement. I have no ill feelings whatsoever. Absolutely amazing. Time to grow, time to do something new. So came to school and just we don't look at so much as retiring as much as it is just to change a career, because I'm still really too young to retire.
Yeah.
But I had enough time that I could.
Yeah. So I understand on the first day of school, they go around and ask each student to say what they want to get out of the school over the next 9 months or year. Do you remember what you said that day?
That
was a long time ago.
No, my vision, like you said, when I came out, I guess I've always had a dream that I would love to sail around the world. I would like to see every beach, island, every port that there is. All the books, all the magazines that I had read had just really encouraged me to want to just see more of the world. And in the busyness, I guess, the car culture that has been created in big cities, that sailing on a boat, the quietness of it, the idea of new places just around the corner has always enticed me. And so my dream had always been that somewhere I could build a sailboat that would be able to do that.
Really? So that's what you're hoping to get out of this, is to build your own boat and sail around the world?
Absolutely.
Cool. Can I come with you?
Absolutely.
Your wife might not like that.
Oh, she's put up with me for too long.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. What an awesome dream. So you're about halfway, a little more than halfway, 2/3 of the way through the course, huh?
Yeah.
Through the school. And so what kind of stuff have you learned so far, Steve? What are some of the highlights for you?
Wow. I mean, the highlights is just working with some of the most incredible instructors that I have encountered in my career. I mean, the instructors have just really individualized, really helped me only strengthen the skills that I had, as well as learn new skills. It's learning the curvatures, learning the bevels, the angles, looking at wood in a different view rather than in my past with cabinetry and stuff is just square, lines, as being able to imagine the curve. So it's also really helped me in just being able to put myself into a different culture rather than in law enforcement, where you deal with 1% to 2% of people who need 1% or need 100% of the attention, whereas now you get to meet with the other 98% that are just great people that are just trying to live their dreams too.
So have you? Yeah, is there like 35 students right now? Is that right?
33.
33, 30 something, right?
Yeah.
Have you gotten to know some of these people pretty well? Become friends, or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, from the first day where there's a little bit of nervousness, once they put you on a bench with another one of the students, when you're in the group with a lot of the other students, you really do. I really, like I said, bonded with quite a few of them. Now, like I said, on weekends, we go to a lot of their shops and places that they have and work on whatever projects they have as well. Some of it is boat work, and some of it's just putting in floors or putting in windows or putting in whatever things need to be done.
Cool. So that's fun. You guys do stuff together outside of the classroom.
Oh, absolutely.
Help each other out with stuff and all that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So which program are you in? Small craft, large craft, or contemporary?
I am this year in small craft.
Small craft, okay.
Next year, I may be taking contemporary.
Oh, really? Okay. Uh-huh. So are you leaning towards a contemporary design for your sailboat?
No, actually, I'm looking at a John Atkins design.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm currently enthralled with the double-ended cutter rigs.
What kind of hull construction do those have?
The ones that Woode, the ones that I have seen, especially is the Vixen. It was restored by Les Schnick, but then it was sold at a wooden boat festival in 2004 here in Port Townsend to a Bruce Hadlock in Victoria.
Oh, really?
And him and his wife took it around the world from 2004, they went on a 7-year around the world tour with that boat. So it's already been around the world twice, once because it was first sailed around the world in 52 by another couple. Les restored it down the road, and then it was sailed again around the world, so it's already proven.
Wow. So you're thinking about building your own boat of that design?
Or finding one that I can restore of that design.
I see, okay. Are they called Carvel planked hulls?
That's a Carvel planked hull.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're learning Carvel planking in your classwork here?
Carvel planking, lap strake is what we're learning in our class.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been it's been a challenge, but it's absolutely every day I wake up is you just want to be here in the school.
Yeah, cool.
It's something that sometimes I think I don't want to look back, but you go, boy, I wish I would have done it 20 years ago.
Really? Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
But we'll still got a lot of time.
Yeah, right. So do you plan on using the skills you learned here for a trade for earning income when you get out? Or
I think that there's still some of that potential. As far as working just in a production, I don't see myself in a shipyard just doing production, but I do think that these skills are going to help me earn, I think, an income. I'm very interested in the art form. And I think that there are, from what I've seen and being around, there's already been opportunities that had I not been in school, I would have been or could have been hired.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I guess a lot of guys get hired right here in Port Townsend doing different things, right?
A lot of people get hired here in Port Townsend.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, I see that there is opportunities out there. It's just wanting to make sure that I had the skills and to be able to go to those places and or just start up my own little shop.
Mm-hmm.
To see what I thought it would be good to learn some of the contemporary stuff as well as some of the wooden boat stuff and the small craft. It really allows you to get into what we've already worked on 3, 6, 7 boats
really?
So far. I mean, we've had our hands on so many different boats, and so many different parts of the boat. That is nice about the small craft is because you get to work on 6 or 7 stems or transoms or keels and planking and not to say that the large craft doesn't do a lot, but a lot of times it's on one boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's wrap it up with one other question here, Steve. For people that are listening that might have an interest in attending the Wooden Boat School, what would you say to them?
I would encourage them at all to seriously check into the Wooden Boat School. I think so often in our life we get caught up in, as myself, wanting to earn money, and this truly is more of a life. It is truly, you feel like you've accomplished a lot of things through doing, building, making sure that no matter what, when the boat goes out the door, that those people's lives that you're working on depend upon the work that you put into that boat, so that they can go out there and sail as safely as possible, fish in their fishing boats as safely as possible. And so you're truly invested into the boat and wanting it to become the best that it is. So I would encourage, anybody to look into the school, because of just what it brings to me, just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Cool. Very good. Anything else you'd like to say today, Steve?
No, sir. I appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Steve, for doing that interview. Best of luck in you as you finish up the school year. And I hope you have a lot of fun with all the skills you've learned. I'm very jealous again. Okay, next is the interview with Bruce Blatchley, instructor at the school. Take it away, Bruce. Okay, it's April 19th, 2013. I'm at the Northwest School of Wood and Boatbuilding in Port Hadlock, Washington. That's a mouthful. I'm with Bruce Blatchley, contemporary instructor at the school. Bruce, welcome to the podcast again.
Well, thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you back. You've been on at least once or twice already.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought I'd get an update on you on what you're working on these days, Bruce. What's happening here at the big shop?
Well, we got the Sliver put together, deck mated to the hull, and that's been a big milestone for the boat. All the tabbing is done inside and out, and now we're putting holes in the deck.
Now, for us novices, what is tabbing?
Fiberglass cloth that bonds the two parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So typically in narrow strips as opposed to big sheets.
I see.
Yeah.
And for those listening that don't know what Sliver is, can you give us a brief description?
Sure. It's a 62-foot Dave Sailor that Bob Perry drew for a client on Bainbridge Island. It's going to be super fast, deep draft, fin keel, sloop rigged, go fast boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a wood core hull and foam core deck, and it's really brought our program into the 21st century for sure. It's been good.
Yeah. So have there been some challenges along the way, Bruce?
Daily?
Really?
Well, all right.
What's been the biggest challenge?
Surprisingly enough, it hasn't been maintaining motivation. It's been really good.
Yeah.
The crew that we hired to help push the project along they're all graduates of actually my program, and so they've been just super motivated. There really haven't been that many big challenges. We've had to figure out a lot on the fly and learned a lot through the process, and developed methods for doing certain things along the way. But I don't think any of us look back and think, oh my gosh, that was horrible. That part was terrible to deal with or whatever. The owner's been a dream to work with, and all the people that are associated with the project have been great. So we've had help along the way figuring out how to do things, and certain techniques that we weren't familiar with. We certainly were given the chance to learn them and perfect them before employing them on the boat.
Yeah.
So that's been good.
Yeah. So is part of the school's mission to rig the boat also, or will that be somebody else?
It will go somewhere else, yeah. Actually, the rig is over in Seattle, and the keel will be put on there too. The thing draws about 10 feet, and the keel itself weighs about 9,000 pounds. So
really,
we're not equipped to work with that kind of thing, and it's being made over in Seattle. So it's looking like the boat will be taken over there to be commissioned.
So how do they do that? They pour a big keel like that inside of something or with lead, or what do they do?
Well, the actual appendage is steel.
Okay.
Hollow. It was originally designed to be a fuel tank, but that idea was scratched. and then of course the ballast is lead, and the mold was incredible. It's huge, but built up out of lifts of plywood and carved up at Turnpoint Design.
Oh,
and poured over to Seattle.
Yeah. And is this boat the first of its kind? It was designed specifically for this client?
Yep, it sure is, yeah. Very narrow, very long, lots of waterline. Kind of the culmination of a whole lot of ideas that the owner has been, distilling for years. And
does he plan to race it or just cruise around?
I don't think he can't
Puget Sound?
race. He can't not race it.
Yeah, it's always racing if it's moving.
Right. Boat and, dare I say it, ego taken into consideration, it'll be, it's got to be out there racing.
Yeah. Do you know what the hull speed is? Or
theoretical, we calculated it just, off the numbers, the formula, and it's really approaching 12.
Yeah.
So, should be darn fast.
Yeah.
It doesn't it's not even 10 feet on the beam. So it doesn't, really, the weight of the surface for a boat that length is pretty minimal compared to competition for sure.
Yeah, right. So what's the expected completion date, Bruce?
Well, we're going to need to have it out of our shop at the end of June, at which point we hope to have all of our things ticked off the list, and then it'll go over to Seattle and get the rig and keel put on, and probably be painted there too. Don't quote me on that one, but hopefully it'll be in the water by
that's kind of an unfair question to ask a boat builder. When's your boat going to be done?
Yeah. Well, normally I would have said Tuesday, but
I hate it when people ask me that question. I'm telling them next week for like 6 months.
Yeah, no, Tuesday is always safe.
I said May, but I didn't say what year. Right?
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah.
So what else you got going in here? Projects you're working on?
Bartender, George Calkins design powerboat. Local people might be familiar with the boat. It's a really cool planing hull, kind of an older design, double-ender. The Coast Guard took a big interest in back in the day for, offshore work. And
down in Oregon, right?
Yep.
Was it where it was used originally?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And that is a commission for a guy that's going to have it on Flathead Lake in Montana.
Okay. That's a 28-foot boat or 26?
Yeah, it's actually a stretch. I think it's 27 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of freeboard. I was looking at that.
Yeah, it'll be dry. It'll be dry. It'll be fast and dry.
Yeah.
And,
you're going to put a big inboard in it?
Really big.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually right around the corner.
Really?
It's a Crusader. It's like 400 horsepower.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind they used to use at Cypress Guards to pull 10 water skiers or whatever.
It's going to be really powerful. But, I mean, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
But they're going to have it, majority of the time in freshwater.
Yeah.
So
that boat's got a pretty flat hull amidships, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of part of the design.
Mm-hmm.
Comes in steep and then gets flat
Yep.
and tapers off a little bit.
Yeah.
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 So what other stuff you got going, Bruce? Anything else right now?
Oh, well, part of the curriculum is a new design by Stevens and Waring. They're on the East Coast. It's a 24-foot sailboat we've got going down in the other shop. It's cold molded hull, beautiful design, real classic above the water, reminiscent of, I hate to say it, but I'm going to, Herreshoff and all the greats. Profile of the thing is just incredible. We looked at the lines and it's like, yeah, we got to build this thing. And then modern underbody and carbon rig and really roachy full batten main, and just going to be a real pleasure to sail. And that's been a really attractive project to the students, to the point where I'm having a hard time getting them up here to
really?
work on the Bartender.
What's that boat called?
The design name is Sentinel.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's 24-foot, just day sailor.
Yeah.
Nice big cockpit, and but it's a beauty.
And it's cold molded?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, one layer of fore and aft cedar strip planking, and then 2 layers of diagonal. 1/8-inch veneers over that and fiberglass cloth.
So there's different methods of cold molding then, huh? Because some methods are with veneers of wood and others are with strips. Is that right?
And you can do it with plywood.
Really?
You can do it with or without a vacuum.
Because I looked at that boat and I thought, man, it looks like it's strip plank, but it's not. It's cold molded.
Right. Initially, it was strip plank to get a base layer.
Start with that.
Yeah. So that fares in between the frames or the molds, and then you can bag your layers on after that, and have something to create a vacuum with. But initially, you give that first layer enough thickness so that it'll fare between the molds or frames, so it doesn't run flat between them. And then add the diagonals in the cloth, and it really turns out to be a bomb-proof hull.
And the diagonals are strips also?
Well, they're pretty wide.
Are they?
Yeah.
Like how wide?
7-8 inches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But they're pretty thin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You epoxy those on?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
One at a time?
Definitely. The whole bunch. Under a vacuum bag, yep.
Oh, under a vacuum bag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds complicated to me.
Well, it helps to have a lot of people who are really motivated on the day of the bag. Because everything has got to go off just perfectly, have everything lined up and ready to go. Because
the vacuum kind of sucks it all onto the shape of the hull, right?
Yeah, and you can imagine a boat that big, how many, with all the strips, they have to go in exactly the right place. Where they came from, right? During the original dry fitting, everything's got to get wet out, coated, thickened, and put in place and held there until the bag goes on and the vacuum goes on. And then you hope your job is done and you can walk away.
So what do you use for a bag?
Well, it's vacuum bag film. It's actually, just rolls of vacuum bag film. It gets, you can make any size bag you need by joining sheets with mastic. It's really real sticky, rubbery type tape.
Okay.
That we use to seal up the.
I see.
To
the edges, huh?
Yeah, get a vacuum.
Really interesting.
And then there's different products that go underneath that to ensure that you get all the vacuum bagging stuff to release from the part. You've got a release fabric and breather fabric, and then another layer of perforated film that regulates the flow of resin, because you don't want to draw it all out of the part into the breather fabric. You want to kind of slow it down, keep it on the part where it's supposed to be, and then the bag goes on after that. And
so how did you learn how to do that?
Let's see. Well, surprisingly enough, I learned really how to do it and became familiar with it here at the school.
Really?
Yeah. Having to do it.
Okay.
Which forced me to learn it and to be familiar with it. And because up to that point, the cold molding that I'd done had been with fasteners. You staple or temporarily screw, which involves a lot of fasteners that have to be removed.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the vacuum bag, is you can get a lot done without perforating the thing with a million holes,
So is that considered a contemporary design method or build method?
Oh, sure.
Cold molding?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
But that was developed probably, in the 50s or 60s? Or 70s?
It used to be hot molding.
Oh.
And it's been around for a long time. Hot molding involved an autoclave and a lot of heat and pressure, and it's very expensive. Mm-hmm. And when the epoxy resin was formulated, or other glues, but specifically epoxy resin, that need for the autoclave disappeared. So it became a lot more affordable and a lot more doable with a simple vacuum pump and some, product that you can get from our buddies in Michigan at the Goujon Brothers.
Mm-hmm. West Systems.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very cool. All right. So, are you still having fun teaching?
Oh, yeah.
Are you?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Almost every day. Almost every day.
No job's perfect, right?
Well, no, but I mean, it's darn close.
Yeah, yeah.
I get to work with these people, and they're all really enthusiastic, and they're sponges, and get to help them develop their skills and build new boats, at the same time. And working in the yard, you really want to be building boats, and it really is a dream job.
Yeah.
And we're in a great place. I mean, the Olympic Peninsula, specifically, but on this bay, just a great place to come to
cool
work.
Spot. Yeah. So you probably like to come to work every day.
It's not too bad.
And you get paid to do this,
and
right?
I get paid to do this.
Jeez.
That's right.
I'm a little jealous.
Well,
I'm always jealous when I come over here. The students, the instructors.
we got room for you.
I know. Not quite the right time for me.
Yeah.
So personally, you doing any boating or building, or you're just...
I'm building a surfboard.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
A wood surfboard?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No technical stuff with that. It's just strip planked and made out of red cedar. And
oh, strip plank. Okay.
Yeah.
Your own design, or?
No, I bought a kit.
Okay.
Yeah. Bought a kit for a kind of a longboard, a mini Malibu.
Oh. Are you a surfer then?
Used to be.
Really?
Back when I could get to warm water. But
so you're going to put on a suit and go surf around here?
Yeah.
There's good surfing on the Washington coast, right?
And good in the Strait too, depending on the day. Yeah. There's a great little spot just west of PA, Port Angeles, that has beautiful peelers. Went first time I went here with my longboard. It was just perfect. Warm, sunny day, mountains, as a backdrop, and glassy waves.
Really?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
you wear a wetsuit then? Or
oh,
dry
yeah.
You don't wear
yeah.
dry suits surfing? Or
no, it's a wetsuit.
Wetsuit?
Yeah.
Because the water's 55 or 53 or something like that.
Yeah. It's pretty chilly. But, with the right gear,
fine, huh?
Even a chicken like me can be in the water for an hour and a half or so.
Very cool. Well, thanks for the update today, Bruce. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, not really. I appreciate you coming by.
Okay.
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
My pleasure.
Bruce, thanks so much for taking the time to do the interview. It's always fun to talk to you and chat about wooden boats. Best of luck to you and everything you do there at the school, and wrapping up Sliver, which you probably have by now, and moving on to other stuff. So thanks again for doing that. Okay, you want to be sure and tune in again next week. I publish this podcast every Thursday, which means there's an audio version you can listen to what you're doing now, and then there's also a post on my website for the week where I share pictures and information about the audio interview and so on that I've done for the week. So be sure and come back next week. I've got a lot of fun stuff planned for the next few shows. You can connect with me by shooting me an email, dan@hookedonwoodenboats.com, subscribing to my newsletter at hookedonwoodenboats.com/subscribe. You can write comments on my blog posts each week at hookedonwoodenboats.com. If you like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube, you can look for me there at Wooden Boat Dan. I've actually got 4 videos on YouTube now, which is pretty fun. So check that out. You can send stories and pictures to me. You can call my voicemail feedback hotline. The other thing I would appreciate it is if you enjoy the show, go to iTunes, search for the podcast, and give me a 5-star review. I would really appreciate that. If you'd like to support me financially at all, if you would like to make a purchase from Jamestown Distributors or Rest Marine or Amazon, go to my website and click on the banners there. That takes you to their website, and if you make any purchase, I get paid a small commission, which helps pay for my fuel and that sort of thing, which I really appreciate that. So have a great week, folks. If you're not in the wooden boat game, it's time you get in. Build a boat, buy a boat, rent a boat, buy a Wooden Boat magazine, go buy some lumber at your local lumber yard, go down to the waterfront, talk to some people, get in the game, folks. It's a really fun way to spend time. Have a great week. Keep the bright side up and the barnacled side down. Wooden Boat Dan over and out. God bless.